Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus. Hope everyone is doing well today. And today's topic is, once again, reincarnation. Because it is one of the most commonly asked about topics, I think, here at Afterlife Topics. So I think it's always worth bringing this up, as well as some of my personal conclusions about reincarnation. Of course, I have talked about this in prior videos. Of course, there are hundreds of videos now on this channel, so I think there's a lot of information that gets kind of lost in the fold, so to speak. But reincarnation is a good one to revisit, also because I have been getting more information from what I consider to be valid spirit contact sources. Now, this includes having an astral projection experience that I feel is a legitimate experience, something that I can verify in some way that I'm really out of my body, and then asking people on that side questions about how it all works. And so I have done that regarding this topic a couple of times in the last few months, as well as I've had correspondences with what I feel are legitimate mediums, bringing forth, sometimes even in a trance state, entities from that side, and putting different pieces of information together to hopefully form a big picture about this. So I want to present some of that today. And once again, these are basically journalistic inquiries by myself, and few things are set in stone, and this channel is not gospel, so always make up your own mind about what the information means. But perhaps this will help clarify some possibilities. And hopefully I won't go too long in this video either. I'll see if I can practice condensing information a little bit better. Before we jump into this is Afterlife Topics with Cyrus. We are also a big community on Facebook. And here on YouTube, of course, we have a smaller community on Reddit. Sometimes it's fun to check out. And I appreciate everyone who has stuck this channel out and who benefit from this. If you like this channel, I encourage you to go down, hit that subscribe button, as well as punch that notification bell so you can be notified when new videos, will hopefully get notified when new videos come up. And if you want to get involved, work with me, do unlimited coaching to assist with astral projection techniques and things like that. I offer that for anyone at the $30 subscriber level. You can also sign up to the exclusive patron-only meetups, as well as be behind the scenes for guest interviews, all that. And that goes into helping me manage all this work that I do now with Afterlife Topics, while still being able to afford basic living expenses, as well as a lot of the stuff I'm be doing coming up around the corner in terms of my health. I'm going to Mexico, doing a bunch of therapies and stuff, trying to get my health back on track for 2021, which I feel confident about. And so special thanks to the patrons helping make that possible. So anyway, so to continue with the topic, we're talking about reincarnation, and to reference what I was just talking about, which is the sources of information. Let's talk about that a little bit. One of the big bugaboos in this field, and if you read The Afterlife, The Afterlife and Beyond, my second book, there was some unanswered questions about the other side, which I've often struggled with, trying to figure these things out. And one of those questions concerns, who are we in terms of individual identity? When we cross over, if we already have these parallel concurrent lives all over the place, then there should not be a welcoming party coming and greeting us when we pass on. It should be like all our memories just comes back into us as soon as we die. But spirits have conflicting information about this, and this has been very confusing to me. And another part of that that's very confusing concerns reincarnation. If we've been all these different lives, why don't we just get all those memories back as soon as we pass away? And so whoever you are now, is it really going to be the person you are when you kick the bucket? Because you're going to get the memories back of the last 50, 60, 70, 80,000 different lives you've had. And so what element of that smorgasbord of different lives is still Cyrus, is still Bob, is still Carol, is still Rebecca, and is still Adam? And that is a concern because we're talking philosophically about life after death. So we know reincarnation happens because it's been well documented at the University of Virginia. Ian Stevenson, physical evidences of reincarnation have been documented, as well as untold amounts of past life regression sessions that have yielded information that a person otherwise shouldn't know about. We haven't even gotten into xenoglossy, which is when a child is born and has knowledge of a language that the child never learned about. So we know reincarnation is real, but it is very often the kind of this curveball when trying to understand what happens when we pass over, where we go, and what happens to us. Because again, if we've been 50, 60, 100,000 different lives, then what are we when we die? Because we're not, are you still going to be Cyrus? Am I still going to be Cyrus? Or am I going to be, I don't know, some other entity, some other intelligence, grow back the Conqueror from, 50,000 light years away when I was reincarnating on planet X? I don't know. So the point is am I really going to be Cyrus? That's a mystery. Now, what's interesting is that spirits have come to find that spirit communication has some consistent answers about this, which I think are important to consider because it, in my mind, really clarifies this issue. It also clarifies why, in effect, and it's quite weird, but in a way, reincarnation may never happen to you. It's like, on one hand, we all seem to experience reincarnation. We know it's real, but on the other hand, it's a matter of perspective of consciousness. And your perspective of consciousness, it seems like, may actually never experience reincarnation. So, personally, I like hearing this information because I am a little bit biased toward being anti-reincarnation. I've always been really annoyed by the Life Between Lives Institute and the Michael Newton work. This idea of life between lives, there's this emphasis on reincarnation. There's a downplaying of the astral spectrum, and in this idea that the only way you can enjoy having an existence again is you have to come back to this basically this slave system planet, controlled by horrible elite groups that keep us all in chains in a way, and not able to allow this planet to kind of evolve in the way that I think a civilization should. You have a lot of just serious issues on this planet. We have diseases that should have been able to be cured a long time ago. All types of things. I'm a little bit black-pilled about the subject. And top it all off, having your memory wiped. So all the work I've done as Cyrus, having all that erased and having to come back here and do it all over again, having to subject yourself to whatever random traumatic childhood you're going to have to deal with again. Meanwhile, all the work you've done is for nothing. And in the cosmic scheme of things, in the cosmic character select screen, I like Cyrus. I like this character that's been made. And I don't want to give that up. But if you talk to some of the people who are like reincarnation obsessed, well, they basically say, tough shit, you're going to have to give that up because reincarnation is inevitable and the afterlife is apparently so uneventful, so boring, so uninteresting that you can't even do anything there without coming back here. And this is the mindset of some of the people in the reincarnation camp, which I think is heavily influenced by Buddhism, and I don't think it has a much connection to reality because, again, spirits don't say things like this. This is not the page that they're on. So let's get to what spirits have said. So firstly, Silver Birch, which is why I think one of the best spirit communication sources, references reincarnation and souls as being facets of a diamond. The diamond is your higher self, and every facet is its own facet. Reincarnation is that diamond switching perspective to a different facet, but the other facet still exists independently of everywhere else, even if it's connected to the whole. So this was a very interesting idea, which was a little bit of a game changer to me. But I've always been trying to find verification of that. Let's see if I can get through this video without sneezing. I have like an allergy to dust, or probably dust mites. And this bedroom, I'm back in Tucson, Arizona, by the way, in case you're wondering about the backdrop. Finally got out of Los Angeles for the time being, and I'm very happy about that. God knows what's happening in that city right now, but okay, I don't think I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so I've always been trying to find verifications about that, and so a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with a physical medium, and I won't say who it is. These physical mediums like to stay private, but the physical medium was, in this instance, going into a trance, and I was asking the physical medium about these issues. And to paraphrase, this is what the physical medium said. And again, I feel like this physical medium is accurate. They also gave me some health advice at the time about a supplement to take, which I think has been helping me with my I guess nervous system damage and issues that I'm having after I got sick earlier this year. So I feel like this was an accurate source of information, and so the medium in trance coming through, the spirit guide was speaking through him or her, and the spirit guide said that you will never reincarnate. I was very surprised to hear this, that who you are right now, your individual awareness, is not going to come back to this planet. Because what's going on is that existence is all about perspective. So right now, your perspective is whoever is watching this. And so long as your perspective is that person, then there's no reason to ever come back to this earth. And you will essentially stay on the other side forevermore. But as your consciousness expands, you have the ability to switch perspective to those different facets of the diamond that Silver Birch talks about. So you may have a parallel life that is also going to be on the earth plane, or that reincarnates. And as your consciousness expands, on this plane, sometimes you gotta take some DMT to expand it, but on the other side, your consciousness is automatically can be or enter into an expanded state just naturally. As it expands, you will be able to become aware of and then become those different facets. So it's not so much that anything changes about who you are, it's actually entirely up to you. It's entirely in your control if you want to expand into that awareness. And then on that higher level, you can also maintain your consciousness of the identity that you are possessing right now. Now you can then expand that consciousness even more into being that higher self, which is all the facets of the diamond, being those 1,000 lives that you've had, whatever number that may be. And you can expand into that state as well, and then be all those lives. And technically you can keep expanding until you could be, groups of group souls, group clusters of diamonds that could potentially mean being encompassing the identity of somebody else who has no relation, that you believe anyway, you've had no relation to your buddy. You could suddenly become him. You could technically keep expanding your consciousness all the way out until you are any human being you want to be, or until you're any soul that you want to be, any creature you want to be, any person in the entire multiverse, which encompasses infinity, all the way out until you are God. And then the mystery is revealed that everyone's consciousness is basically the same. So that is to say, any one consciousness can expand itself out to be any other consciousness. So it's the macro perspective and then zooming into the micro perspective. But it's up to us which perspective that we want to stay on. Which means if you want to stay on the perspective of Bob or Sarah or whomever, whatever your name might be, if I want to stay on the perspective of Cyrus, then I simply choose to stay on the perspective of Cyrus. And apparently it takes a lot of work to expand those perspectives, to zoom out and become a higher consciousness entity. So what this means, and what this alleged spirit trance channeler was telling me, which made a lot of sense to me, was that in effect what this means is that when you die, you are going to be you. So I also asked about, what about having a parallel astral life? Because I know I have a parallel life on that side, because when I go out of my body, I have a whole life set up. I have a house on the astral plane. I have friends, I have acquaintances, I have a dresser full of stuff in my astral bedroom that I don't have the memory of buying because my consciousness isn't fully there. So it's like, what happens to that part of me? Does all that information about who I used to be download back into my brain, or my astral brain, or my ethereal whatever representation chakra point? And the answer that I got was no. You will not have any memory of your parallel astral self when you die. Your locus of awareness is only going to just be on the identity that you have right now, until you choose to begin remembering, until you choose to bring that back into your life, and it's going to take some time to do that. So now, this does have I think this could have a flip side, because if that is true, then it would mean that my parallel life that I've had on the astral plane, throughout this life, the people that I know from that life maybe won't recognize me for a while, because I will no longer be the astral explorer Cyrus. I'll have to pick those pieces of my life back together and remember this other life I've had on that side. So it's a little bit complicated, but what that means, though, is that the death process here supersedes your astral existence on that side, and you will only be aware of existence as it's happening only to you. What this ultimately means is that, quote, you will never reincarnate unless maybe the you perspective chooses to. And I think this can happen out of free will. You could make the you perspective become a new identity, essentially overwriting the you perspective that you used to have. Probably this is a bad idea, because I think it's going to break a lot of hearts, because in this case the you perspective really would disappear from that side. I have some reason to believe that this does happen in religious cultures such as Hinduism, that promotes reincarnation and again downplays the other side, kind of keeps people on a contractual basis coming back to this earth, in which case maybe the you perspective will disappear from the higher dimension and return here. But this goes back to what I often say is, you should reject religion, in my opinion, and make up your own mind about what you want to do. Even if you are watching this from Mumbai and you have a score of Hindu deceased relatives and spirit guides and people waiting on that side to tell you what to do, like you have to reincarnate, you have to come back to Earth because of this list of reasons that we have based upon our dogma. I think that everyone should resist those types of things and do what they feel is right. And also they should resist any other outside influence that's telling them to reincarnate. So best way to do that is don't put anyone on a pedestal. Never, when you die, it's extremely important not to look up to some higher entity as being exalted and that you have to follow what it says, because all of these entities abide by laws of the law of the universe of free will. So if some higher entity has an ulterior motive to make you want to reincarnate, you have to agree to that and follow it along. And the best way to stop those systems is afterlife education, because most people die and they don't even know an afterlife is real. And then once they die and then they're encountering some higher dimensional being, their first instinct is to put it on a pedestal, because they switch back to Sunday school. They switch back to their religious programming. And once they switch back to that, they think, oh my God, this is, a higher exalted entity. I have to follow everything it says. And so if that higher exalted entity says you sign this soul agreement and go back into your life and serve some purpose or some cause that benefits that other entity, many people, I think, will do it. But I don't think that this happens very often. I've heard about this happening. I don't think it happens like all the time. I don't believe in some of these conspiracy theories that the Earth has like a soul prison matrix, whatever. You have to fly out of the matrix and talk to some lady on Jupiter or whatever. I hear all kinds of crazy things in this field. I don't believe any of that because there's no evidence to support anything that drastic is happening. If there are matrices of control that coerce people into reincarnation, I think very often that stems from hollow heavens, religious soul groups, and maybe there are kind of archonic entities that are trying to serve themselves by coercing people into a reincarnation thing. But it's not like there's a physical trap that's like trapping soul, like a soul net, like, trapping spirits, because that's impossible. That's not, multidimensional consciousness cannot be trapped. It cannot be contained in any one location. So you don't have to worry about any of that. All you can basically know is that if you have afterlife knowledge, you watch this channel, you have an education about that, you don't put entities on pedestals and you don't listen to what they're trying to tell you to do if you happen to encounter anything like that, and you know to go into these higher planes of existence that we call astral planes that are very heavenly and wonderful, and yes, there's just as many opportunities for growth and development, enhancement. You can do all the things you can do here. You can touch things, despite what Suzanne Giesemann says. You can touch physical objects just the same way as here. I've done it a million times on astral experiences where you can't even tell the difference between this world and that world. So it's the same. So when you're in an astral body, when you respawn on that side, you essentially you have all the opportunities as here and many, many, many more opportunities. And this is what's natural as our soul progresses, as we move into new adventures and new things. Which means that reincarnation there's no reason you have to reincarnate here unless you really want to do it. So the final point then is that, as the title of this video says, you never have to reincarnate. You can if you want, but if what this spirit was, what this trance channeler was telling me was true. And I know it's not good journalistic ethics that, okay, my source is a random anonymous channeler of information. But look, I'm comparing this also to what Silver Birch says. I'm comparing it to my own experiences. I'm comparing it to me asking people astrally about reincarnation. It's always, it all consistently points in this same direction. And there are groups on this side who don't like this idea because they, for some reason, want everyone to be forced to reincarnate. They want reincarnation in this Buddhist or Hindu perspective. And so they're going to fight tooth and nail to resist this factual spirit communication. But that's just another thing to deal with. But don't take my word for it. Practice astral projection yourself. Practice some kind of forms of legitimate spirit communication. Talk to your guides. Talk to higher powers. And try to confirm these ideas yourself. And then you can figure out if what we say on this channel is accurate or not. Don't take my word for it, just as you shouldn't take the word of any exalted entity about what the universe is. So that is it. I hope this wasn't like a rant or anything. I'm hoping this is useful information, hopefully take some anxiety away, because a lot of people are like me and they don't have any interest in coming back to this world. And they don't have any interest in giving up maybe the character that they have right now. And so hopefully this was of use. Hopefully, again, this alleviated some of the anxiety and some of the messages I get about this topic. Thanks for watching. Sorry I have not been so active yet. I'm active lately. I know I say that a lot. It's been a crazy time. Again, really focusing on my health right now. Doing so much with my nutrition and my diet. I'm here doing some business stuff here in Arizona. As I mentioned, I'm booking into Mexico at the end of the month, focusing again on the health, on the treatments and this type of thing, and trying to get my nervous system operating the way it should be so I don't have crazy rapid heartbeat issues and fatigue and shortness of breath and all these zillion other things that have like totally changed my my lifestyle. But I think some things are working and I'm on the right track. This sometimes takes up so much of my time that I'm not, I'm even neglecting, like I have kind of a pseudo day job also, as an editor. So I edit people's books and novels, and I tend to always have work in that area, and I've been neglecting even that because my mind has just been so, focused on all these things. And so thank you for bearing with me. And just as the world hopefully gets back to normal, I hope that my old lifestyle gets back to normal. You'll see me on a beach again soon. You'll see me in some foreign country. You'll see me back in Asia. I mean, look, I appreciate Los Angeles. It's where my friends are, and Los Angeles has a lot of perks. But man, I really feel that whole state, that city and that whole state is falling apart lately. And on an energy level, I can feel that. There's like this underlying like nervous tension when I'm back home in LA, and then when I come here to visit people in Arizona, like that nervous tension goes away. And so I think that also has an effect on my health as well. And I think that's a big factor. Even for those of you watching, if you're having issues this year as well, then consider your geographic environment, consider the people you're around. Is that making things worse? Because if it is, it may be time to take some kind of radical action to change that. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope this was of some benefit to you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Don't forget to grab some books of mine like Understanding Life After Death, the Afterlife, and Beyond. They make great Christmas gifts if you have an open-minded friend or family member who is interested in the topic of life after death. And head to afterlifetopics.com and click on one of the links to the Amazon pages if you want to order a paperback copy of my 2 books. Or if you keep waiting, eventually there may just be a 3rd book published, but it's hitting a lot of snags along the way. But bear with me, eventually that book will come out, and I'll of course let everyone know the day that happens, which will certainly be sometime in 2021. All right, see you guys on the next video.